it's really important that you stand for something, that you don't just represent the past, that you can speak to the present and the future.
How did Diana's death really change the way that the royal family went about handling the public?
I think it does change everything. I think it has been talked about a lot, but I think I would say I'm more interested in the smaller ways that it changes the family. I think that I don't believe there's some overnight transition where they hire the best PR firm in the world and change their methods of behavior. I think they're a big institution, but I think they probably learn for the first time just how emotionally connected people are to them. They feel that surge of emotion, just the way I think in the final episode, we talk about the wave of applause that comes through Westminster Abbey after the eulogy. That is a tidal wave of emotion, and it would be impossible not to be affected by that as a human being. And I think the smaller details, I think that all of us really noticed in the wake of Diana's death was this willingness to be slightly more emotional in language, slightly more personal in behavior, that the idea that the Queen and the family would talk about themselves in a way that they hadn't before, would be relatable to you and me in ways that they hadn't before. And certainly you see that through her sons. I think they're exemplars of the idea that it's okay to be yourself. You're not just upholding an institution. You also have to be an individual.
Do you think that it was the eulogy really kind of hit home to the Queen?
I mean, I can only speculate, but I can't imagine being present in that moment would not dramatically affect you. The Queen has a serious duty, and I it's impossible not to respect a woman who has done what she has done with her life. I mean, she's a remarkable person, but to be in that moment and to not be overwhelmed, and to not feel that, as I say, that wave of emotion, that powerful feeling, it has to change you.
Right. I mean, would you say the way that they handled Diana's death at the time was probably one of the biggest backlashes the royal family faced?
Yes. I mean, I think there was, I was living in London at the time, and I think there was an enormous sense of frustration and anger. I think I think a lot of that may have been misplaced emotion. People just felt that something had been taken away from them. Yeah. They needed an outlet for that feeling of sorrow and sadness, and to see, an institution not responding, not coming out, and not talking to people, very quickly became a kind of firestorm that I hadn't seen in my lifetime before. And I don't think, in previous generations of royal families, was there ever a moment like this? I can't think of one. Yeah. So it really was a kind of unique set of circumstances. And I think people, what I take away from it as a documentary maker and someone who likes talking about history, I think what I take away from it is just the sense of there is an emotional connection. You can love these royals. You can feel that they are part of your life. And I wonder if that point had kind of been missed in the past, that perhaps a death really forced everybody within that institution to kind of say, people really care. Yeah. They really do care about us.
No, definitely. And obviously we've seen them change. The royal family has modernized a bit over the years, but when William eventually does become king, I mean, how do you think he'll bring Diana's legacy to the forefront even more and change the monarchy even more?
I think what people find really refreshing about William is that he's not afraid to confront issues that are important to him. For me, one thing that really stands out about Diana is that, there is a kind of audacity in her willingness to speak up on issues, that when she talks about HIV and AIDS, when she talks about landmines, she's really doing that solo. There isn't a campaign behind her. And I find that really compelling. And I think I see that in William. I see that in the way that he's public in many respects on issues that he is passionate about and that he cares about. And I think that's necessary now. If you are going to be a kind of global figurehead, it's really important that you stand for something, that you don't just represent the past, that you can speak to the present and the future. I think that he understands that deal perfectly as far as I'm concerned.
Right. And I mean, obviously we see Harry carrying on his mother's legacy as well, talking about mental health and things like that. And, kind of getting involved in other issues that we really haven't seen the royal family do so with politics. And, I mean, I feel like she would probably be proud of both of her boys.
Yeah. I mean, how could she not be? Yeah. They are both really accomplished people. I think Harry in particular, you look at Harry and you see the struggle. He's very open and honest, and he's willing to share everything that he's had to deal with. And I think it's really, as a British person, to see people from their background and their unique upbringing being able to kind of talk openly is a minor victory for all of us Brits. I think we do come from a culture where it's still difficult to talk about your feelings. It's still not encouraged to be that open and honest. So yeah, I think to see someone step up and go global and try to represent other people's voices on a global stage is really gratifying for sure.
Definitely. Well, Matt, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time, and congratulations again on a beautiful docuseries. Everybody, make sure that you check it out on CNN On Demand. All 6 episodes are there. And like I said, congrats. It's a beautiful story that you told.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.